Chronicle of Heroes. From the earliest days of the Imperium, the Blood Angels have fought to defend the Emperor's realm, in spite of the darkness that gnaws at their souls. The Sons of Sanguinius have proven themselves true heroes time and again. Even now, as their days darken towards night, they remain a beacon of hope amid a galaxy of war. Millennium 31 to 40, an age of golden glory. A galaxy of sorrows. Corrupted by the dark gods of chaos, the War Master Horus leads fully half the Space Marine legions into damnation. The nascent Imperium is torn asunder by this civil war, which culminates in the Siege of Terra itself. At the battle's climax, the Emperor, Sanguinius and Rogel Dawn teleport aboard the War Master's battle barge, accompanied by their greatest champions. Sanguinius and all but one of his sanguinary guard join this attack despite the Primarch's presentiments of doom. Sure enough, the elite Blood Angels are slain one by one, while Sanguinius himself falls in battle with Horus. Though his noble sacrifice makes victory over Horus possible, the angelic Primarch unwittingly triggers a terrible flaw within the gene seed of his legion. This curse will bedevil the Blood Angels forevermore. The Shield of Sanguinius. Tectonic upheavals on the backwater world of Ion Cell 5 trigger a massive orc war. Dispossessed greenskins flood into space in their billions, led by a bellowing beast known as War Boss Star Smasher. The war overruns the maiden world of Ledrith, sweeps aside the renegade war fleet of Lord Borfajik, and descends upon the Red Haven system. Here it is stopped dead by a combined force of Blood Angels, Astra Militarum, and Knights of House Griffith. The defense is coordinated by the Blood Angels chapter master Leonid Castiveres, and is masterful in its conception and execution. The war rages for many months and several imperial worlds are overrun, yet finally the war spends its fury against the vaunted Shield of Sanguinius and is utterly destroyed. A gathering of heroes. A combined force of Blood Angels, Angels in Carmine, and Blood Drinkers engages with traitor forces on the archaeotech world of Hell's Hollow. Though the cultist hosts are swiftly put to death, the attack comes too late to prevent their completion of a heretic ritual. The veil is pierced, and a tide of demons spills through into the planet's macro-cities. The Blood Angels and their brethren react to this new development with typical courage and resolve. The main strength of the strike force is deployed in a series of holding actions, stemming the demonic tide long enough for the Death Company to be hurled against the ritual site itself. Amidst an orgy of violence, the black-armored Battle Brothers slaughter everything in their path, closing the rift at the price of their own lives. Millennium 41, an age of red wrath. Cleansing of the sin of damnation. A space hulk, codenamed Sin of Damnation, drops out of the warp dangerously close to Baal. Strike Force Raphael deploys squads of Terminators via boarding torpedoes, and a vicious battle erupts throughout miles of tangled corridors, chambers, and ducts, as the Blood Angels battle the Hulk's gene-stealer infestation. Death on Cartas. Captain Zoriel leads elements of the Blood Angels' 4th Company to the world of Cartas, there to put an end to localized piracy by a ragtag fleet of renegades. Though the pirate fleet is quickly shattered, their flagship breaks up in the Cartan atmosphere. The ship's warp engines suffer a cascade failure and tears a hole in reality, through which pours a host of Cornate demons. The Blood Angels, who have made planfall to check for pirate survivors, find themselves stranded on Cartas surrounded by an ever-growing tide of demons. Though they fight with honor and determination, Sanguinius' scions are soon in danger of being overrun. Their predicament worsens when the mighty bloodthirster Kabanda slays Captain Zoriel in single combat. Just as all seems lost, the Sanguinor appears, plunging like a bolt of golden lightning into the midst of the foe. The angel battles the roaring demon back and forth, finally hurling Kabanda down and banishing his corporeal form back to the warp. Rallying behind the Sanguinor, the last of Zoriel's men cut a path to the warp engine, deactivating it and ending Cartas' nightmare. In the wake of the madness, the Sanguinor disappears without a trace. Blood on the Sand. Rebellion and heresy claims the searing death world of Dakar, and the Blood Angels respond in force. Vicious gunfights rage throughout the subterranean hubs and manufactorums. Meanwhile, the Blood Angels' armor meets the traitor tanks upon Dakar's rad-blasted deserts, capitalizing on their speed and the barrel-like terrain to cut their lumbering enemies to pieces in a series of blistering battles. The Millennium Sky War. Captain Metrian is charged with the destruction of Eldorei raiders operating from a fortress hidden in the poisonous atmosphere of the gas world Millennium. Harnessing the chapter's entire fleet of gunships and combat interceptors, Metrian initiates an unprecedented airborne assault. Storm Ravens jink through the blaze of anti-aircraft fire to disgorge assault squads and Terminators directly onto the floating fortress's docking platforms. This hard-hitting infantry force swiftly secures landing zones for land raiders and predators to arrive via Thunderhawk transports. As the battle rages through the fortress's hangars and service shafts, the overwhelming firepower and determination of the Blood Angels soon begins to tell. Realizing the hopelessness of their situation, the Eldorei pirates abandon their fortress, though not before they have sabotaged its gravity nullifiers. The Blood Angels are forced to beat a desperate retreat as the fortress is sucked into Millennium's hungry maw. Only the incredible skill of the Blood Angels' gunship pilots, who fearlessly plunge their craft into the deepening gravity well to rescue their blood brothers, prevents the victory from becoming a devastating defeat. The World Engine. The Blood Angels' 2nd and 4th companies are dispatched to the Vida sector to assist against the threat of the Necron World Engine. Following the sacrifice of the Astral Knights chapter and the destruction of the World Engine, it is Captain Donatus Aphael of the 2nd Company who proposes that a shrine to the Astral Knights be raised upon the planet of Safehold. From that day forth, 2 Blood Angels of the 2nd Company are permanently assigned to stand guard over the memorial. Death of Antax. Strike Force Aphael battles War Gutstomper on the Forge world of Antax. The battle looks likely to go against the Blood Angels until they unleash the fury of their Death Company, led into battle by the ancient Death Company dreadnought Moriah. Captain Aphael and his surviving battle brothers crush the reeling War Gutstomper, ending the threat to Antax amid fire and blood. The Second War of Armageddon. War Gazkor descends upon the hive world of Armageddon. The Blood Angels are one of 3 Space Marine chapters to respond. Such is Commander Dante's reputation that Tushan of the Salamanders and Marneus Calgar of the Ultramarines cede overall command to him. Fighting is fierce in and around the higher cities, with the determination of the defenders matched only by the unremitting battle lust of the Orcs. The Blood Angels bear the brunt of the close-quarter fighting. The tactical maneuverability of the Blood Angels proves to be crucial in the later stages of the campaign. The 3rd Company, under the command of the newly promoted Captain Erasmus Tycho, forms the heart of an armoured spearhead that cripples the chief Orc supply lines, leaving the Orc mech boys without the necessary gubbins and gears to keep their stompers, Gorkanauts and Morkanauts fully operational. With its heavy guns thus neutralized, the war is finally broken before the towering walls of Tartarus Hive, where Dante and Tushan famously fight side by side against Gazgul's bodyguard. What price victory? Captain Castigon leads Strike Force Nobilitas into battle against the Drukhari on Tolos. Amidst the ruins of the planet's agriplexes, the Blood Angels witness the horrors inflicted by the cruel Xenos upon the world's populace. So repugnant is the butchery that Castigon and his warriors lose their grip upon their inner fury. The red whirlwind of destruction they visit upon the Drukhari leaves no foe standing. Yet still, the Blood Angels face shameful censure in the battle's wake, for a victory won in the grip of the floor is no victory at all. The Black Fang Crusade. Judging that the Orc strongholds in the Black Fang system have defied the Imperium for too long, Dante mobilizes his entire chapter. They fight a year-long campaign that not only drives the Orcs from the 12 worlds of Black Fang, but also from 2 neighboring systems. Beheading the Serpent. Captain Tycho's 3rd Company is one of many Space Marine strike forces that responds to the threat of Hive Fleet Jomungdan. Though Tycho claims several crucial victories, so reckless are his tactics that fears for his sanity arrives. The Third War for Armageddon. Ghazghkull returns to the arid world of Armageddon at the head of another, vaster war. Over 24 Space Marine chapters respond this time. Adeptus Astartes from across the galaxy gather to deny the Beast of Armageddon his victory. Though the Blood Angels are already hard-pressed battling the emergent threat of Hive Fleet Leviathan, Captain Tycho leads a force to Armageddon's aid. The consequences of this decision will prove dire indeed, yet honor demands that the Blood Angels do no less. The Shield of Baal. News reaches Baal that the worlds comprising the Cryptian Shield, intended to hold back the might of Hive Fleet Leviathan, are overrun. Knowing that the consumption of the Cryptus system would open the floodgates for an unstoppable Tyranid invasion of Baal, Commander Dante takes action. At the head of a mighty strike force that comprises the 1st and 2nd Companies of the Blood Angels, Brother Corbulo, Brother Carlane, Chief Librarian Mephiston, and the bulk of Gabriel Seth's flesh tearers, Dante strikes out for the Cryptus system. This mighty force reaches the Cryptus system in time to aid the last hard-pressed Imperial defenders and avert complete catastrophe. Yet the war that follows is unremittingly savage, with both the Imperial and Xenos forces suffering rapidly escalating casualties. The Blood Angels are eventually forced to unleash an ancient weapon of mysterious provenance to annihilate an entire world of the Cryptus system and use its debris to gut the onrushing Splinter Fleet. Showing his wisdom, Dante accepts that the Tyranids have been slowed but not stopped. The Blood Angels commander orders the return to Baal. His chapter will fight for its survival upon the worlds of its birth. Angel's Blade. Even as their forces make warp for Baal, further ill tidings reach Commander Dante and his lieutenants. Slipping past the defences around the Cadian Gate, a raiding force of Black Legion, Word-Bearers and Crimson Slaughter Chaos Space Marines have struck at the Diamore system. On a bound to lend their strength to fight against these traitors, the Blood Angels dispatch forces they can ill afford under 1st Captain Carlane and 2nd Captain Aphael to aid the Imperial war effort. Those noble heroes find themselves fighting a diabolical plan to shatter a planet-sized cage within which ancient demonic entities are trapped, seizing victory by only the narrowest of margins. Meanwhile, Dante and the remainder of his battle brothers press on to Baal to strengthen its defenses. Millennium 41, an age of black despair. The tendril uncoils. The Baal system is reinforced like never before. Answering Commander Dante's call, one successor chapter after another arise to lend much, if not all, of their strength to their primogenitors. Slab-sided defences are raised upon the blasted sands of Baal Prime and Secundus, and even the fortress monastery of the Arx Angelicum on Baal itself. Fleets of cruisers and battle barges gather in the void around Baal and its moons, their combined might enough to crush star systems and end worlds. Still, as deep void auspic screens turn blood red with contact runes, and a 10,000-mile-wide tidal wave of chitin and flesh surges into the Baal system, it seems unlikely that it will be enough. Desperate measures. With the Tyranids closing in, Commander Dante and his closest lieutenants authorize deeds that would have been unthinkable in brighter days. The Blood Angels' precious gene seed reserves are removed from their storage crypts, packed carefully for transit under the watchful eyes of sanguinary priests, then sent away on a swift ship with a hand-picked complement of guards. At the same time, millennia of tradition are cast aside, as Blood Angels' gunships gather every viable aspirant they can from amongst the nomadic tribes of Baal Prime and Secundus. These youths are armed and then ferried to the Arx Angelicum. There they form defense garrisons, whose strength will augment that of Sanguinius' sons. At least 40,000 wide-eyed youths are gathered in this way, and told that any who survive the oncoming battle will surely prove their worthiness to join the chapter's ranks. Of the remaining tribesmen little is said. Given what extra weapons and rations the Blood Angels can spare, they are left to hide or stand as they see fit. Any Tyranids they kill will be fewer monstrosities to beset the Blood Angels and their successors, but the tribesmen are not expected to weather the horrors that follow. The battle begins. Unwilling to cede Void supremacy to the Tyranids without a fight, Commander Dante orders his naval vessels to strike at the enemy and slow their advance. Across 100 fronts, the red-armored Void craft of the Blood Angels and their successors strikes at the fleshy Tyranid hive ships. Lances and gun decks split the darkness with their fury. Ruptured bioships tumble away, slicks of ichor spilling from their sundered innards to freeze in the merciless void. Dozens of Tyranid ships are butchered, hundreds of thousands of warrior organisms slain before they ever see the irradiated sands of Baal. Still, the Blood Angels are driven back, every victory carrying its own butcher's bill and flaming hulks and dead battle brothers. Soon enough, the Void War becomes unsustainable, as more and more Tyranids flow from the darkness in squamous waves. With their surviving craft forced to fall back and harass the Hive Fleet's flanks, the Blood Angels now face the full fury of the Tyranid invasion. On Baal, Baal Prime and Baal Secundus, aircraft-sized spores darken the skies in their millions. The shadow in the warp settles like a shroud, choking off any further hope of reinforcement. The Sons of Sanguinius stand alone. Death from above. Tyranids pour from the skies in ever-increasing numbers. Their spores slam down like hellish seed pods to spill ravenous waves of war beasts directly into battle. Orbital lasers and hurtling gunships take a mighty toll upon the Xenos, in some regions wreaking such carnage the purple ichor falls like storm rain across the defenders below. Yet still the Tyranid waves come on. Tyrannocytes falling thicker and thicker, while gargoyles and harpies swoop between them, spitting acidic gruel that sends Blood Angels' aircraft spiraling down in flames. On Baal and Baal Secundus, rippling tides of warrior organisms surge onto the defenders' guns and are shredded amid storms of fire. Their corpses pile up in hideous drifts, yet still they press forward foot by foot. On Baal Prime, the situation is worse still, the Tyranids hurling overwhelming forces into battle. Angel's Fall becomes a blood-drenched altar to the gods of battle, its defenders massacred by an avalanche of chitinous bodies and razored talons. Gabriel Seth and his berserk flesh tearers lead the counterattack, tearing the heart from one Tyranid swarm after another. But the victories do not come without cost. Driven back. For weeks, the fighting rages on. The Tyranid body count spirals upwards with breathtaking speed. Dante's warriors felling hundreds of Xenos for every one of their own that falls. Yet fall the Sons of Sanguinius do, as the defense lines are breached and overwhelmed one after another. At last, the defenders stand defiant with the Arx Angelicum's final fortifications. Still, the Tyranids fall from the skies. Still, the slaughter continues. Secundus defiant. On Baal Secundus, the Carmine blades hold firm in the face of each Tyranid attack. Feet planted, bolters roaring, they hold Baal's astropathic relay against impossible odds, bringing honor to their names with each bloody day that dawns. Last stand. The greatest Tyranid wave yet slams into the defences of the Arx Angelicum and breaches them. 3 successor chapter masters fall in the battle of the Dome of Angels alone. Bodies pile high amidst the sundered defences. Still, the defenders fight on, even throwing open the gates of the Tower of Amareo and letting the captives loose. If the Blood Angels are to die, they will do so in battle and on their own terms. The storm breaks. The Great Rift tears across the galaxy. Warp storms spill from its howling war, engulfing the war-torn worlds of the Baal system in empiric insanity. The Tyranids are cut off from their fleet, while on Baal Prime the sudden fury of a massive demonic incursion is unleashed. Perhaps it is hours that pass, or perhaps days. Perhaps it is years. Amidst the reality-bending energies of the warp, Sanguinius' sons and the beasts of High Fleet Leviathan fight on towards mutual annihilation. Then, at last, the stars emerge again, revealing not a single bioship. Where the Xenos craft had gone, none can say, but the Tyranid ground force reels in confusion. A new fleet is revealed in their place. The Indomitus Crusade has arrived. Reboot Gilliman guided to Baal by the signal of its astropathic relay. With a word, he unleashes his fury. Angels and demons. The salvation of Baal does not come quickly or without cost. Even as Gulliman's forces rain down to relieve the siege of the Arx Angelicum, even as they join forces with the surviving Sons of Sanguinius and fight to purge Baal and its moons of Xenos, still more Imperial lives are lost. Yet hopeless defeat has become a glorious victory against the odds. Meanwhile, as certain grim secrets of the Blood Angels are laid bare to the eyes of the Ultramarines Primarch, he chooses to keep his own counsel, and leaves such things unspoken. Baal and Baal Secundus are cleansed of Tyranids before a month is out. The slaughter is spearheaded by Primaris Space Marines clad in the panoply of the Blood Angels and their successors. On Baal Prime, no such martial efforts are required. The moon has been utterly scoured of life, both Imperial and Tyranid. Though Gabriel Seth and his surviving flesh tearers escaped the unnatural cataclysm, the only sign of life that remains on Baal Prime is the immense cornate sigil of Kabanda, wrought in Tyranid skulls piled mountainously high and dominating much of the moon's southern hemisphere. Millennium 41, an age of crimson dawn. Hope from horror. In the wake of Leviathan's defeat, the Blood Angels begin to rebuild. Their gene seed stocks are recalled, taking their rightful place beneath the rising arches of the restored Arx Angelicum. The several thousand grizzled aspirants who survived the siege are all inducted, and those that endure are funneled into the outside scout companies authorized by Commander Dante for his chapter and their successors. The ranks are further bolstered by a huge influx of Primaris Space Marines, unfrozen from the vaults of the Tsar Quasitor, or produced upon Baal itself using the newly installed mechanisms brought by Archmagos Kor. With Commander Dante declared Regent of the Imperium Nihilus by Gulliman, the Blood Angels and their successors are soon ready to rejoin the war for the Emperor's realm. It is well that they are, for the fight has become more desperate than ever before. The galaxy screams. Even as rebuilding efforts continue on Baal, scattered astropathic messages filter in from the void. Some are little more than formless nightmares, so twisted that they are shorn of meaning. Others are the death screams of worlds, violent enough to burn out the receiving astropath's minds, but containing no actionable information. However, many are clear enough to be understood, especially those sent from neighboring systems within the Red Scar. Commander Dante assembles multiple strike forces from amongst his chapter's newly bolstered ranks, sending the Blood Angels out into the void as a resurgent force for good. The Relief of Lestranza. Strike Force Aphoriel braves a perilous leap through the warp, safely reaching the Pendrak system. They come in answer to a distress call from the system's capital world, Lestranza, which they find beset. Regiments of turncoat Imperial Guard have perpetrated a cannibalistic rampage across Lestranza's southern continental landmass, and are close to overrunning the defences of the planet's northern highs. Demons of Khorne fight alongside the feral traitors, and wherever they charge into battle, no Imperial defence can stand. Newly appointed Captain Aphoriel leads the fight to relieve the Loyalists, orchestrating a masterful campaign of rapid strike warfare with Primaris Blood Angels at its heart. Inceptor squads plunge from the upper atmosphere to neutralize the traitor's southern polar ritual sites and cut off their supply of demonic reinforcements. Meanwhile, forces of intercessors, tactical squads, hellblasters and devastators deploy by drop pod and gunship to execute the traitor leadership cadres wherever they are found. Valkyries from the skies, while below spearheads of repulsors and land raiders execute devastating armored charges into enemies' rear lines. Finally, after 3 weeks of unrelenting carnage, the morale of the traitors collapses, and they are crushed between the Blood Angels at their backs and resurgent loyalists to their fore. The Golden Host. Elements of the Blood Angels and the Carmine Blades join the crusade to reclaim the Dormet system from the grip of the Black Legion. While the Carmine Blades Reaver squads excel in the vicious shadow war of Heddoth, and the charge of the Death Company and Talon 44th Armored carries victory on Zongal, a Black Legion counterattack on the feudal world of Tydor threatens to see the Blood Angels overwhelmed. As Dante and Astrath fight back-to-back amidst the Sanguinary Guard, a golden figure plunges from the heavens to join the battle. The Sanguinor has come. Led by this trio of angelic heroes, the Blood Angels hurl back their attackers, driving the last of the heretic Astartes over the cliffs of Fellhaven into the darkness below. Bloody Retribution. Hurled across the void of an empiric convulsion, a Tau colonization fleet begins claiming worlds within the Red Scar. Their efforts are brought to a sudden, violent halt by strike forces of Blood Angels, Fresh Terrors, and the Angel Sanguine. Planets of Desandri and Grendel's Reach are swiftly reclaimed, and the war spills into the Seven Sun system. From beyond the veil. Strike Force Mephiston is lost to the warp while attempting a daring crossing of the Karcharak's Tempest to reach the beset world of Ramengal. The morning bells tolled on Baal proved to be premature, as a full year after their disappearance, Mephiston's force bursts back into reality and fall upon Ramengal, annihilating the demonic pleasure cults that have conquered its cities. The Kovian Incident. Fascinated by the Primaris Space Marines, or more specifically, their potential to advance his research into a cure for the flaw, Brother Corbulo makes it his business to accompany them into battle whenever he can. Thus Corbulo is on hand during the final attack on the Alpha Legion's fortress of lies on Kovan. Spearheaded by Vindicators and Repulsors, the Blood Angels' attack breaches the immense fortification, allowing squads of intercessors to pour inside. Yet the Alpha Legionnaires draw out the fight, baiting their enemies and striking to wound and goad the Primaris Blood Angels wherever possible. Though victory is eventually secured, the violence unleashed by several of the Primaris brothers to achieve it is extreme, with traitors torn limb from limb. No official censure is applied to the battle brothers in question, but Corbulo seeks audience with Dante shortly afterwards. His deep disquiet is evident.